Hello, welcome back. This is chapter 5th, Indigo, written by Louis Fisher, and today I'm going to explain page number 50 to you. So, here we go. Gandhi complied. The messenger drove Gandhi home, where he served him with an official notice to quit Champaran immediately. So he overtook Gandhiji and then served him the notice. Not served him the notice exactly there, but he asked him to return because that was the order from the commissioner, and he helped him return. That is, helped him means he carried him back to his home, and there, when both of them reached there at Gandhiji's residence, this messenger served him with the notice, the official notice to quit Champaran, to go away from Champaran. Gandhi signed a receipt for the notice and wrote on it that he would disobey the order. Okay, so since he was the messenger and he was carrying the message from the commissioner, so Gandhiji had to put his signature on the receipt as a proof of, as an acknowledgement or as a proof of receiving the information. So he put his signature and wrote on the back of this message, on the back of the order paper, that he would disobey. In consequence, Gandhi received a summons to appear in court the next day, since it was the violation of the rule or the order. He wrote on the back side of the order, "You disobey," so that was a violation. So he was summoned to the court the next morning. That is, he was called. He was called. He was asked to appear before the court. All night, Gandhi remained awake. He telegraphed Rajendra Prasad to come from Bihar with influential friends. He sent instructions to the ashram. He wired a full report to the viceroy. So, as he received the summons to appear before the court, so he had to make his preparation. He had to do all his exercise from his side. So he wrote to Rajendra Prasad and asked him to come there with some influential leaders and some influential people from his place. He also wrote to the ashram and provided them the instructions. Then he not only wrote, but he sent a report, a proper report to the viceroy on this issue, on the issue of sharecropping and the atrocities upon them. So, as he made his preparation, his exercise, so to do his exercise, he had to remain awake, stay awake the entire night. That is, on that night he did not sleep, but made preparation. He was not worried, but he took his preparation. Morning found the town of Motihari black with peasants. They did not know Gandhi's record in South Africa. They had merely heard that a Mahatma who wanted to help them was in trouble with the authorities. Okay, so the very next morning, as the news spread that he was in trouble, so the next morning, with the start of the day, the city, say the town only, the town of Motihari found a crowd of thousands, more than thousand, that is in thousands, there at the place, that is in the town. They had entered and they thronged the town of the town of Motihari. and they were black since they travel a lot of distance, so due to dust and all, and since they were the peasants working in the field entire day, so due to the skin color or due to all these things, it just turned black. It looked black. Well, the question is why such a big crowd appeared there. So since they came to know that the champion, that some Mahatma who wanted to help them was in trouble, though they had no idea how big was the figure of Mahatma Gandhi, how influential was he, what was his political status, political stature, and all. They had no such idea, but they simply appeared there, they simply came there to help him out of this situation, since he wanted to help the poor sharecroppers, and he was there, he was facing this trouble only for them, only for those sharecroppers only. So their spontaneous demonstration in thousands around the courthouse was the beginning of their liberation from fear of the British, and as they appeared there in thousands, so that was all spontaneous, happening spontaneously, naturally. They were not called by anyone, they were not forced to reach there, but it was the call from inside that they must go there and they must stand beside him in this hour of difficulty, in this hour of trouble, because he was there for him, he was there for them. So they surrounded the courthouse, and that was the beginning of their liberation from the fear of the British. And that was, say, the first step for the people of Motihari, for the people of Champaran. That was the first step taken towards liberation from the fear of the British. The officials felt powerless without Gandhi's cooperation. He helped them regulate the crowd. Now, since the entire town was surrounded by people in thousands, and thousands people and thousands of number, so they found themselves helpless. The courthouse was surrounded. There was no enough police protection. Even the police men there in the town were not sufficient to handle such a big crowd, so they were helpless. And here they needed Gandhi's cooperation, they needed Gandhi's help. And he helped them regulate the crowd, and he assisted them to regulate, to control the crowd. He was polite and friendly. And in his handling of the crowd, he was polite and friendly. Not only handling the crowd, the way he cooperated with the Britishers there, the British officials, that was friendly, that was polite, since he was all powerful there. He had the power of the thousands of people there. So he was, say, in a dominant position there to control the proceedings of that place. But he was polite, he was friendly to the officials. He was giving them concrete proof that their might, hitherto dreaded and unquestioned, could be challenged by Indians. Now he was giving them concrete proof that so long their might, their power, the power of the Britishers was not challenged, it was dreaded. People, the general public was scared was afraid of their power, and their power was not challenged. But here, he was giving the proof, concrete proof to the authorities that it can now be challenged by the Indians, of course. The government was baffled, the government was defeated, it was not able to budge budge an inch without the help of Gandhiji there. So the prosecutor requested the judge to postpone the trial. Apparently the authorities wished to consult their superiors. So as they were all trapped, or they found themselves helpless there, so the prosecutor, the one who was fighting the case against Gandhiji, asked the judge to postpone, to defer the hearing of the case. And apparently and clearly the authorities wished to consult their superior, and the authorities wanted to consult their superiors about the situation, as how to deal with such a situation and what to do with the case. Gandhi protested against the delay, but Gandhiji did not want any delay in the case. He read a statement pleading guilty. He was involved, he told the court, in a conflict of duties. On the one hand, not to set a bad example as a lawbreaker, on the other hand, to render the humanitarian and national service for which he had come. So he read a statement. He didn't want to do any delay in the case. He wanted that the case got resolved and the judgment was delivered the same day. So he read a statement from his side and pleaded guilty and requested guilty, and he said that he was guilty. He violated the rule, he violated the order, so he was guilty. He committed a mistake, a crime. But he said he was involved in a conflict of duty. Why he violated the rule? Why he disobeyed it? Because he was involved in conflict of duty. He had duties, two duties, and they were colliding. There was a clash between these two duties of his. So what he said, on the one hand, he did not want to set a bad example as a lawbreaker. He didn't want to break the law, and that's why he returned from that place. As he was going to meet the peasant, he returned from that place, so he did not break the law. But on the other hand, he had to render service to he had to render the humanitarian and national service. But on the other hand, he had to be right. He had to do justice with his people and also to his nation, for which he had come there, because he came there, he reached there, he was there to help the people, and also as he was helping the people, he was also helping the country. So there was a conflict of duty in these two ways. He disregarded the order to leave, not for want of respect for lawful authority, but in obedience to the higher law of our being the voice of conscience. He asked the penalty due. Now he said he disregarded, he disobeyed the order, not because he had no respect for law and the lawful authority, that is lawful, the people installed there lawfully, but he had to disobey it because it was to be obedient, because he wanted to be obedient to the higher law of our being. That is, he wanted to be obedient to the conscience, the inner soul. And it said, support the one who is suffering and not the one who was who was launching all the oppression, all the, say, torture and all. He asked the panel to do, and then he asked the panel to do. That is, he wanted the punishment to be given to him. The magistrate announced that he would pronounce sentence after a 2-hour recess and asked Gandhi to furnish bail for those 120 minutes. So the judge said that that the verdict would be announced after some time. That is, after a break of 2 hours, and that he had to furnish bail for those 120 minutes. But Gandhiji refused because he was to be released for 120 minutes. He was free. He was not taken into the custody. He was not taken in the prison. So he had to furnish the bail. But Gandhiji refused. He said, "No, I will not furnish any bail." And so, consequently, at the end, he was to be released. He was released without bail. When the court reconvened, the judge said he would not deliver the judgment for several days. Meanwhile, he allowed Gandhi to remain at liberty. And when the court reassembled, met again after 2 hours recess, the judge announced that he would not deliver the judgment today. Not only today, but for the several days to come. And for the meanwhile, Gandhiji was allowed to remain in liberty. He was allowed to remain free. So this is all for now. Thank you.